Meghan Markle, she couldn't be more cringe if she tried. She addressed a crowd at the Time 100 Summit in New York, where she was asked about how busy she's been pursuing her dream of, being a reality star, being an influencer.
Ladies, gentlemen, and anyone who still thinks Meghan Markle's influence can silence satire, get ready because we are officially watching what can only be described as Meghan trying to erase a punchline from NBC archives like she invented censorship and suddenly discovered the statute of limitations on embarrassment. And folks, this wasn't just another late-night joke buried under 10 minutes of filler about windmills or Trump's latest meltdown. It was targeted, it was viral, and it landed harder than a Netflix special written by Prince Harry and delivered by Dave Chappelle. Because yes, Meghan wasn't even on the show, but her reaction behind the scenes was so intense that insiders say she went full scorched earth trying to get the clip pulled entirely, like she thought late night TV was just another royal press secretary waiting to rewrite history. But boom, just like that, the public didn't respond with outrage. They responded with laughter, with criticism, with a wave of backlash stronger than ever before. Because when Seyrh Meters called Meghan a Mini Brigitte Macron during his monologue, he wasn't just making a throwaway line, he was tapping into a wider narrative, one that had already gone viral across Europe after Brigitte Macron was allegedly caught slapping her husband, French President Emmanuel Macron, in public like they were auditioning for the Real Housewives of Versailles. And suddenly comparing Meghan to a European political spouse who turned personal drama into international gossip wasn't just funny, it was devastating. It framed Meghan not as some noble humanitarian wronged by palace politics, but as someone who keeps turning every personal conflict into a media spectacle, then pretending to be shocked when people laugh instead of clapping. And here's the kicker, this wasn't just another jab at celebrity ego. This was exposure wrapped in comedy, and honey, nothing says cultural reckoning quite like having your life compared to a scandal involving a first lady who slapped her own husband while cameras rolled. While Meghan scrambles behind the scenes to erase jokes from history like she's editing her own Wikipedia page mid-rant, the rest of the world is sitting there whispering, wait, is this really the same woman who once claimed she was just looking for peace? Because let's be real, when your response to being roasted is to panic delete, demand edits, and try to rewrite late-night TV history, you don't look noble, you look unhinged, you look fragile, and suddenly, you look exactly like the kind of person comedians live to roast. So yes folks, while Meghan keeps treating every punchline like treason, while she keeps googling how to deport sarcasm and wondering why nobody claps when she says charity anymore, Seyrh Meters and the entire comedy world keep proving one simple truth: the more you try to control the narrative, the more ridiculous you look when you fail. And somewhere deep inside Montecito, she's probably pacing around muttering, "They don't understand me," while the internet keeps laughing louder than ever. Because when your idea of leadership looks less like diplomacy and more like damage control written in disappearing ink, someone will always show up with a megaphone and a better script.
When I listen to Meghan, I am just reminded that there's nothing authentic there. She went on to say she's now the happiest she's ever been. She claims to be this entrepreneur without really acknowledging that her level of fame is because she married a prince. You know, the BS from Meghan just never seems to stop.
Ladies, gentlemen, and anyone who still thinks Meghan Markle can control the narrative, get ready because we are officially watching what can only be described as a full-blown royal meltdown. So brutal it made the internet collectively gasp before immediately screenshotting everything and sending it to every royal gossip group chat known to man. And folks, yes, it hit harder than Musk trying to explain AI without sounding dumb or Trump rewriting history with Sharpie ink while screaming China at portraits that won't clap back loud enough. Because boom, just like that, during a jaw-dropping moment on late night, Seyrh Meters didn't just roast Meghan, he exposed her with surgical precision, comparing her live on national TV to none other than French First Lady Brigitte Macron, coining the phrase "want Mini Brigitte Macron" like he had been handed the scalpel by God himself. And honey, nothing says exposure quite like having your carefully curated image of empowerment reduced to punchline status in front of millions, suddenly not just mocked but dissected. The line wasn't just about size or stature, it was a devastatingly sharp jab at the idea that Meghan holds disproportionate influence over Harry, much like the rumors swirling around Brigitte Macron's alleged physical dominance over Emmanuel. And suddenly the entire world wasn't just laughing, they were connecting dots faster than late-night hosts ever could, whispering, wait, is this really about power, about projection, about a brand built on illusion instead of impact? And cue the chaos, cue the memes, cue the think pieces flying faster than Musk's last rocket landing that didn't stick. Boom, just like that, Meghan went into full crisis mode, scrambling her team like they were Googling how to disappear between damage control calls while wondering why nobody claps when she says mental health awareness anymore. Meanwhile, the online firestorm exploded overnight, with critics dissecting the comparison like it was part of a TED Talk written in disappearing ink and delivered with zero mercy. Because here's the kicker, This wasn't just another joke, it was symbolism. A reminder that Meghan isn't just struggling with optics, she's struggling with credibility, with narrative control, with the simple fact that you can't sell yourself as both vulnerable and powerful, as both private and publicly inspiring, as both a victim of the press and an active participant in its machine. And trust me, nothing says fall from grace quite like having your influence framed as performance art wrapped in comparisons that make even Fox News anchors hesitate mid-sentence. So yes, folks, while Meghan keeps pretending this is just another bump in the road, while she keeps telling herself she's winning the long game, we'll be right here breaking it all down with zero mercy and zero surprise, one viral clip at a time, one stunned silence followed by thunderous clicks across royal gossip sites. Because when your entire operation runs on ego, eventually someone shows up with the right mic, the right timing, and the right amount of sass to remind everyone that truth doesn't need a tiara to land hard, it just needs light, a little trauma, and a comedian holding the scalpel. And baby, that scalpel just got sharper than ever. Boom, just like that, checkmate in the messiest way possible.
Well, still overseas, and shocking video has emerged showing French President Emmanuel Macron being shoved by his wife Brigitte. Footage shows the moment the couple arrived in Hanoi, in Vietnam, where Mr. Macron there on the right appears to be shoved in the face by his wife before composing himself and then disembarking from.
Meyer's remark linked the incident to Meghan Markle, indicating in a subtle but obvious way that she too exerts power and dominance over her husband, Prince Harry. Don't be misled, this was no accident. No tabloids were being read by Seyrh. By placing Meghan in the context of Brigitte Macron's alleged power dynamic, he was making a social commentary that was instantly grasped by the public. He echoed the criticism that has been made for years that Meghan is more than simply Harry's wife. She is the one who created his new persona, and it's not always a good one. A late-night joke is easy to laugh at, but Seth's jab is more powerful since it represents an actual observable reality. Meyer's remark linked the incident to Meghan Markle, indicating in a subtle but obvious way that she too exerts power and dominance over her husband, Prince Harry. Don't be misled, this was no accident. No tabloids were being read by Seyrh. By placing Meghan in the context of Brigitte Macron's alleged power dynamic, he was making a social commentary that was instantly grasped by the public. He echoed the criticism that has been made for years that Meghan is more than simply Harry's wife. She is the one who created his new persona, and it's not always a good one. A late-night joke is easy to laugh at, but Seth's jab is more powerful since it represents an actual observable reality. Meyer's
perfect example of I am completely unrelatable. I've been given so many opportunities because of my proximity to the British royal family that I have spoken so horribly about. I tormented the Queen in the last few years of her life. I tormented Prince Philip in the.
There is no denying Meghan's impact on Harry. From the Oprah Winfrey interview in which Harry repeated Meghan's every assertion, to the Netflix documentary series in which his tone perfectly mirrored hers, to the release of Seyrh, a book filled with personal grievances, Prince Harry has become nearly unrecognizable from the man the British public once knew since their royal departure in 20. He is distant, rebellious, and growingly resentful of his own family. Similar to the dynamic scenario in the Macron marriage, where Brigitte is seen as the dominating voice behind France's youngest president, the once popular prince has now come to represent Meghan's anger rather than being a royal in his own right.
Entrepreneur. I can list more fails on both of my hands. Where's American Riviera Orchard? What happened to Spotify? You've dropped out of the not just 100, but 200 when it comes to the podcasting charts today with Confessions of a Female Founder. The critics were horrible about With Love, Meghan.
The public is already aware of Meghan's dominance over Harry, so Meyer's parallel is only a confirmation of what has already been determined. This is where things go out of hand. According to many sources, Meghan's team contacted NBC management within hours after the show to urge that the piece be pulled and the tape taken off of all screens. Stop it from being shared again by lining platforms. Meghan said that the remark was sexist, insulting, and intentionally meant to degrade her. However, NBC refused to back down, calling it a comedy based on public events and reaction, according to one source. Nothing needs to be taken back. Meghan's situation has become worse as a result of her reluctance. Her incapacity to accept criticism, even humorous or indirect, creates a troubling impression of someone who is urgently trying to maintain a well-manicured public persona and who freaks out anytime it is removed, rather of dismissing it, laughing it off, or reacting in a dignified manner. Meghan's answer simply confirms Seyrh Meyer's assertion.
For their refunds. This is a joke, and I'm tired of some of these media outlets continuing to elevate this person when the reality is she's a grifter. Fake it till you make it. We don't accept that anymore. We want authenticity.
Well, this Meghan Markle PR machine is right now in full swing. She sat down for another.
His effort to steer the conversation once again only served to highlight his claim that Meghan is fixated on control and power, even when it comes to something as trivial as a joke. Meghan has attempted to hide information that presents her in a bad light before. Recall the South Park episode that made fun of Meghan and Harry's global privacy tour? According to reports, their legal team thought about taking legal action. Meghan exhibits a pattern, as shown by her lawsuit against the Mail on Sunday for repeatedly publishing a letter she sent to her father, whom she no longer sees. It has to be muted if it isn't complimentary. She reacted very appropriately to Seyrh Meters. The issue is that prominent personalities cannot continue to sue or threaten when the world stops applauding.
That was released today, and at one point she broke down in tears speaking about being a mother and about love languages, and she took another swipe at the royal family, suggesting that really being part of the royal family was being in the trenches. Take a listen.
Are you in love now more than ever, more than you've ever been?
Yeah, I mean,
Meghan Markle continues to behave in a way that contradicts her rhetoric about mental health and free speech. She wants complete freedom to criticize everyone, including the royal family, the media, and her in-laws, but she also expects allegiance, quiet, and safety from scrutiny. She was upset by the connection to Brigitte Macron, which is understandable. It revealed her as a power-hungry person who dislikes seeing her true self reflected in the mirror rather than as a victim. Meghan's unraveling response to Seyrh Meters may have been her most revealing moment. What happens when parody exposes reality? When one casual remark hurts harder than any royal interview? However,
at the beginning, everyone is like butterflies, and then we immediately went into the trenches together.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, like 6 months into dating. So now 7 years later, when you have a little bit of breathing space, you can just enjoy each other in a
fresh and wait. If you believe this is the end, more fallout is on the horizon. If you have been paying attention to international news, you may have noticed that the Brigitte Macron slap controversy has become a cultural meme. For many, the symbolic message is more important than whether the slap really occurred. It symbolizes the glaring power imbalances in partnerships, when one partner, typically a woman, is seen as the real driving force. The media hysteria over Brigitte's alleged slap turned into a worldwide debate on control, dominance, and power in marriages. When Seyrh Meters called Meghan a Mini Brigitte Macron, he skillfully incorporated this symbolism into his remark. He wasn't only drawing a parallel, rather he was putting Meghan squarely in the center of a worldwide discussion about strong women who take charge of their relationships. This analogy established a clear distinction between,
gosh, I work so hard and I appreciate what hard work looks like. I like working hard. And I'm still working hard, right? The moment that everything sells out, it doesn't mean that we're done.
Yeah.
It means we're working on replenishment and what are the next SKUs and what's the next tranche of products and what's the timing on that and writing the newsletters. And
Brigitte's purported smack and Meghan's actual manipulation of Prince Harry's reaction indignation. She allegedly sought the tape because she was so insulted by being put in such a powerful but possibly degrading position. However, the public's response to the comparison was prompt and overwhelmingly positive. There was more to it than a coincidence. It was logical. Because Meghan's marriage and Brigitte's were already compared, people saw it, laughed, and understood it right away. Seyrh Meters isn't your average late-night talk show host, let's be honest. He's not into celebrity rumors or cheesy jokes. When Meters made his analogy, he was a political humorist who had made a living by analyzing the behavior of prominent individuals.
all the time-coded notes for season 2 of With Love Meghan, and then being in edits for the podcast and being a mom and a wife and a friend.
So Meghan Markle takes yet another swipe at the royal family and then decides to go on this huge rant, almost out of breath there, detailing every bit of work.
Thing he was highlighting a very real and frightening reality of Meghan Markle's marriage, which Meghan has further reinforced by labeling her a tiny Macron. Brigitte Seyrh has no intention of spreading a rumor. He was making a statement on a well-documented topic. Meghan's strong hold over Prince Harry, whether it's by dictating his story, giving him advice on his public remarks, or persistently pressuring him to side against his own family. Meghan plays a purposeful and often self-serving position in Harry's life. Let's face it, Harry and Meghan's worldview have grown so entwined that it is hard to distinguish between them. This is ironic since Seth Meyers,
Detailing every bit of work that she does. You know, being one of the most privileged people on the planet, she still won't talk about how hardworking she is, which includes coming up.
by revealing Meghan as the driving force behind Harry's metamorphosis, a political satire is more accurate than some of Meghan's most devoted public relations teams. Meyers revealed to us that Meghan is in charge of every part of Harry's life, and she finds it intolerable to be called out on it. This is the situation's most damning feature. The public's response was neither surprise nor indignation. They chuckled at the fact that the live studio audience responded to the little Brigitte Macron remark with recognition rather than unease. People agreed with Seth's statements and recognized their deeper meanings. Reactions poured in from the internet. Comments varied from "this is exactly what we've all been thinking" to "finally someone said it." Not only was the comparison the source of the laughter, but Meghan's media attacks on the royal family and her refusal to back down when criticized were just two examples of how people already perceived her as domineering, controlling, and, let's face it, overbearing. Meghan has repeatedly demonstrated her desire to control her own story, and in many respects, Harry's as well. The reason the comparison to Brigitte Macron resonated so strongly is because it accurately reflects how the public views Meghan. Although the notion is not new, it is seldom expressed in such a prominent manner. Nevertheless, when Seth Meyers made the link, it caused a huge surge of support from those who had been following Meghan's career for years. If you've ever observed Harry's body language at public gatherings, you'll see a noticeable shift since Meghan entered his life prior to their marriage. Harry was strong, independent, self-assured, and confident in his royal responsibilities before they were married. But since then, he has come across as much more reserved, hesitant, and in some situations completely submissive. Meghan constantly controls the topic during joint interviews, often interrupting Harry or taking the lead in his answers. The most obvious instance of this occurred during their Oprah Winfrey interview, when Harry's responses seemed to take their cues from Meghan in terms of both tone and substance. To her, he seemed to be practically a shadow, which many find unsettling given her level of power. It is understandable why the tiny Brigitte Macron remark struck such a chord. While Harry may have at first seemed like an independent prince, Seth Meyers was not only drawing a superficial parallel, rather he was highlighting a trend that has been apparent for years. In actuality, Meghan's strong hold over Harry is plain to all onlookers. Similar to how Brigitte is said to manipulate her own husband, Meghan controls the story. As the narrative progresses, we'll examine the similarity, which is difficult to overlook and has now been exposed for everyone to see. Additional facets of this dispute: the issue is still whether Meghan can ever break free from the public's increasing view of her domination, or whether this is just the start of her unraveling. Stay tuned as we go further into the aftermath from Seth Meyers' statement and how her conduct behind the scenes continues to stoke the fires. The cracks in Meghan Markle's meticulously manicured facade are beginning to reveal her repeated attempts to control the narrative, whether through heavily edited interviews, filtered Instagram posts, or selectively leaked information to sympathetic journalists. For years, Meghan Markle has attempted to construct her image as a feminist icon, a misunderstood humanitarian, and a victim of royal oppression. With the small Brigitte Macron line, Seth Meyers did more than merely touch a nerve. He revealed what many people already sense. Meghan's fixation on maintaining her appearance has turned into a disadvantage. It is now impossible to overlook her ambition to consistently present herself as the victimized party while also controlling Prince Harry, the media, and even royal customs.